What's up, summoners? King Blair here. Today we're gonna be talking about all the limited heroes that have come out to Epic 7, and we're gonna talk about the impact that they've had in the game, whether or not they even had an impact, and just rank them overall on how much they changed the game and how much it hurts new players coming into the game that may or may not have these units. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off, we're gonna start off with the least impactful unit in the game by far. That is going to have to be Xeno. So if y'all don't know, Xeno is one of the villains. He was before the GG collab. He appears in the storyline, and you may be like, Xeno? Like, most of you guys probably don't even know who he is, and that's because he is that irrelevant. Currently, he got a buff, or next week he's getting a buff. So maybe we'll see him in the spotlight. And I do think they're going to be releasing him next week because it's also the boss battle. So it just makes sense for them to re-release it. Or maybe even make him like someone you can buy from the shop. So let's just talk about him, since he's a limited unit. So in terms of meta, he didn't do much. He came around where Diani was still really, really big. He had some cool stuff, like, he had a stun on a skill 1. And a lot of his smooth skill and health and defense. So he was very tanky and hard to deal with. But he just didn't do the impact. So he gets increased defense, and people thought he was gonna be like a beast to handle, but now even like with the buffs, we still have so many good units that can just pierce through defense, and his stats, like, they're pretty good. But Judith was just clearly much faster. I could see him coming back just because there are a lot of faster heroes and there are a lot of better fire units, so he could potentially come back and do some damage with the silence and the bleed. So we'll see how the buffs help him, but right now, as a limited unit, he didn't do much. Thankfully, he was free. You didn't have to pull for him. I assume that they're going to make him free again, kind of like a pull bait, like buying from the shop, like the Hall of Trials. I really do think they're going to do that. So if y'all have been waiting for Xeno, I really do think he's coming next week with that buff too. So hopefully we'll see more of him. Next up, one of the GG collabs and where a lot of the new units came from, that is going to be Soul. So from now on, oh, never mind, I forgot, not Soul. How can I say that about Soul? Soul definitely had more impact than this unit. So after Xeno, it's actually going to be Cerise. So my bad, guys, I forgot to read my notes. I thought I knew what I was doing. This is the other one that didn't really have much of an impact. If y'all pulled for her like me and wasted all those summons, right now, she's not doing too hot. She's okay. She's not uber broken. She's not like a trash tier unit, but she's not like a limited type unit. So this is the worst limited unit that you have to pull for in a banner. And as we'll see, all the other limited units were either free and were better than her and made more of an impact, or were absolutely bonkers. So that's why a lot of people were so disappointed in her, because she is limited. She would have just been a good 5-star hero. They should have not made her limited. I really do feel that her third skill, really unique, but restrict. The fact that you can also not lower their combat readiness, it hurts. It really does hurt. Having the stun, it's nice, as I mentioned in the video for her. She just has a lot of utility, but right now she doesn't have a place in the meta. Maybe we'll be seeing her more of her. She'll probably get a buff, but right now she's just kind of a utility hero that can be slapped on. She's not bad, but she's not like... When you see the other limited units, she really hasn't had an impact. She hasn't done anything to make anyone's life easier, and hasn't really made an impact in the game. Now we can talk about GG collab, and from here onwards, all the limited unit heroes either change the game completely, like change the game we play the game, or really did have a big impact. So that's gonna be starting off with Soul Bad Guy. He was a free unit. You could get him pretty easily. You got him just for playing the game. If you're playing the game around the GG collab, you got him. His stats are pretty good. He has some pretty, like, 119 speed. That's really good. He has a counter-attack mechanic that can silence an enemy when they use a non-attack skill. And it does quite a bit of damage because he does damage based on the health. So he's a really good PvE unit. And with the new Ego Fragment that they added, you could get him SSS by just playing through the event. And if you did that, right now he has a plus like 13% attack to himself. So he's really, really good at single target DPS. A lot of people still use him for Abyss. And overall, pretty solid. Y'all see the free on there. He was a free limited unit. And as far as PvE, the impact he had, he kind of added an extra layer more than just having, you know, Lorena. And I don't think Nulo was around at the time that he was released. So he was another single target enemy DPS unit that a lot of people took interest in. And he can one-shot a lot of bosses if built properly. It's just he doesn't get as much of the spotlight. One, because not as many people played at the time of the GG collab. And also because there's just other units that do his job better. And for PvP, water meta is hard, y'all. Water meta has been around since Soul was around because of another GG collab unit that we will be talking about pretty soon. But overall, you know, pretty significant. They did a lot of work for PvE. On the other side, and someone who I think is kind of a sleeper unit for the people that have her, I still use mine, but I need to re-gear her. And another limited unit is going to be Baiken. So in terms of PvE, she didn't do much as of an impact, but a lot of people pulled for her because she's pretty good. I actually really like her. It's just the bleed mechanic overall is not that strong, which makes her lose some of the value. But she's still a really solid unit, and at the time she was released, she did a lot of work. She did a lot of things for PvP. Horado and Moonlight Aramintia were really big at the time that Baiken was around, along with Sage Ball and Sasan. And Baiken provided something that other units could not, and that was combat readiness boosting by using an attack move. He has to have to crit, but it's super easy to build her. But she had to not only crit, she had to attack, and that was good at the time because with Horado, if you use someone like Rusid, which is the other combat readiness booster, and Judith, you would get overlapped by Horado. Horado would use his skill, strip your buffs, and then Moonlight Aramintia would come in and wipe your whole team. That used to be the meta back then. Baiken provided a really good counter towards that meta, and overall, just a very solid combat readiness booster that can also be offensive. The thing that hurt her the most was her base speed not being higher, and that's why right now she's not as good in the current meta. Ludwig has taken over. Basar with the buffs does way more than Baiken does now. So Baiken definitely has fallen off the spotlight, but she still definitely had more of an impact in the game that Soul did. Even though long term that might change, you know, with more content being released, the new Golem being released, she might fall off the face of the map. For PvE, she's still one of the best Banshee one-shot soloists. Really cool videos if you just want to watch how nutty her damage can get. That's a really good video to just look up, type up Banshee solo Baiken. It's really fun. But alright, next limited unit who changed the game and how they impacted in ranking is going to be, so this one was really hard because these next four changed the game a lot. But I'm going to have to go with Luna. A lot of you guys are probably going to be like, yo, how can you put Luna not the top? But y'all, when I talk to y'all about the other units that are above her, y'all will see why I rank her kind of in the middle-ish. And that's because Luna was a big game changer. In terms of single target DPS, no one did it like Luna. At least that's what people thought. Because a lot of the content, like Wyvern B11, if you have a Luna, you're going to slap her on. Abyss, you need someone that does a lot of single target damage, you put in a Luna. Plus, she's super waifu. That changed the game completely. She's the face of Epic 7. She should honestly be a unit that you kind of just get. I feel like she should be something you get when you complete the storyline. I know that's a hot take, but she's just something that so many people want, and it helps out so much to progress through the game. That I don't think she should be a limited unit. I really don't think she should be a limited unit, but she is, and she has done a lot for the game. Has really upped the PvE scale because whenever someone needs a high target DPS, they usually use Luna. For new players, this is where not having limited units will start hurting a little bit, and it'll just hurt a lot as you go on. But for Luna, she's just really good at DPS. She does have some changes to her, like you can use Lorena instead of her. But overall, just the high amount of DPS that she does single target is nuts, and she's limited, which is so rough because if you don't have Luna, you're either gonna have to Curious Cheese your way through Abyss or build your Lorena. That's literally what it comes down to. It's starting to get to a point where you have to build a certain unit just to do what Luna does, and you have to invest a ton more on that unit than you would on Lorena if you had just gotten Luna. So yeah, pretty big impact though. But the next few units, oh, they had an even bigger impact. So next unit on this list, going back to the collab units, Dizzy. Holy moly, I still get nightmares of the Dizzy meta. Y'all, it was so tilting playing in the Dizzy meta. It got to a point where it was just like, what do you do? You know, yes, Sage Balance Hassan was a big factor in that and helped promote that meta, but water meta has been strong, y'all. I don't think there's been a time in Epic 7 where water meta, besides like the very beginning, where water meta wasn't a thing, because, y'all, it's so strong, especially with Dizzy. That's when it really, like, not when it really started, but one of the times where it started being rough. But not only was she a solid PvP unit who set a whole meta based around this skill that can't, like, it misses automatically, so it just does a bunch of debuffs. But PvE wise, having AoE on every single skill, some of the best debuffs in the game on a one skill, all along with having an insane thing to increase them, so she can pair so well with Kiri's comps, have so much utility with this third skill, and just everything being AoE makes her a perfect candidate for Lele Violin, Abyssal Crown. All these mage artifacts just go so well with her that having a Dizzy makes PvE almost a joke. It makes it so much easier. And honestly, I would have to have tried so much harder to do a lot of the content I have, especially in Abyss, if it wasn't because of Dizzy. I was hard locked on a lot of content, PvE, but once I got Dizzy, I shot up immediately. Even PvP, she helped me a lot. Just building her, slapping on an Abyssal Crown with Lele Violin, and just watch her do work. She has fallen off a little bit in the PvP realm. Not as many people are using her, especially with World Arena not including any of the GG collab units. Her use has gone down considerably. But once the GG collab gets a rerun and she can be used in World Arena, I guarantee y'all, she's gonna make a comeback. Yes, there's gonna be more checks to her. There's already so many checks to her because that's how strong she was. They had to introduce so many units. Charles kind of being one of them, where she kind of checked Dizzy and other water meta units, but she still has so many. Like Champion Serato just eats her up. Champion Serato kind of nullifies her and won't let her be as good as she was before, but she's still such an amazing PvE unit. Like, not having her hurts all your Kiri's comps a lot, and that's why I have her up here. Next up, it's going to be one of the oldies, but she did get a rerun already. That's how old she is. Dieni. Y'all, if y'all know Dieni, she literally was Freelo. If you had Dieni, it was Freelo. And she was the first limited unit in Epic 7, not counting the Asia server for the global server. Dieni was the first limited unit, and I thought she was trash at the time, and I can't believe I was so wrong about her. But the second time around, everyone knew what she could do. A bunch of people got her, but you may not have her. But what's so crazy about this unit, when she came out, she began the water meta because her pair with Angelica, you couldn't do anything. Having crit resistance on all allies hurt so much for cleave comps. The increased attack, having her take so many turns with this and Magra's Tome, she was just getting extra turn after this. Clear debuffs, put a barrier up, and then just like get more turns with it turn 1. That it was insane for PvP. It was so tilting to have to go against Dieni. Basar was kind of trash back then. She was on the slow side, so you still had some ways to counter her. But y'all, it was so tilting. Kisig, I don't know if y'all know, she right now has a banner. Kisig came and was meta just because she could deal with Dieni barrier. That's how bad it got, that they literally had to make units targeted that were only good against Dieni. That's how good she was for PvP, because she was just so tilting to deal with at the time. There was no checks, there was no Charles. There was like the cleave comps were like BBK, Tywin, and Rusid. And it was just like, pray they don't have immunity, pray that she doesn't get turn 1, or then you're just screwed. So, and then pair with Angelica with not Idol Shear, but all these tanky like Soul Weaver items. It was just really tilting, and it was not a fun time in the meta. But you know, we got through it. She got a lot of checks. She's okay now. The other part, as far as the PvE side, she is still insane. There was a time where when she came out, all the PvE content, you could not find a single guide that didn't use Dieni, because she is just so good at keeping your team alive, removing debuffs, and giving attack buff, and getting soul so you could use Archie. They have introduced a lot of stages that counter her now, so she's not as insane for PvE, but she's still so solid for PvE that if you have her and she's one of your first unit, which is like you'd have to have gotten your account there or just be coming back, she would just get you through PvE from point A to to infinity, super duper fast. So still, the impact of Diani is unbelievable. I honestly really did struggle between putting her first or second because she really did change the game. She changed all the guides. She changed a lot of the current meta, and she did it really good. She was a crazy limited unit, which is where the idea that limited units are OP came around, was because of her. So props to Diani. But number one, this might be biased because I'm so sick and tired of seeing this character. And y'all, I'm so ready for next week when she gets dumpstered on, and hopefully we'll never have to hear from her again. But we won't. But the only unit I haven't mentioned that's going to be here is going to be Seaside Bellona. So that's the last limited unit that we have that has made a massive impact. Y'all, Seaside Bellona is real. The suffering is real if you don't have Seaside Bellona. She is nuts. So PvE wise, really solid for Wyvern. She's one of the only ways you're gonna get a fast Wyvern team, unless you build a one-shot Wyvern team. But for most players, they're not trying to waste their resources on that. They're just gonna put it on Bellona. She is everywhere in PvP. Everywhere. And she's been around everywhere. You know it's bad when a new unit comes out and the first question everyone asks, can they beat Seaside Bellona? That's how new characters for PvP are judged, because of Seaside Bellona, and it has been this way for almost a year now. So as of right now, she's been in the meta for the longest time while being a limited unit. Y'all have to realize that. Almost a whole year, because it's almost summer 2020. She came out summer 2019. Almost a whole year that Seaside Bellona has been out. And they still haven't either nerfed her or found a way to counter her properly. A whole year. Epic 7 has been around for 2 years. Diani, Dizzy, they had their time, but it was like 3-4 months tops. Sage Ball and Sasan had like 6 months, and we were tired of that. We were like, oh, 6 months, that's done. Seaside Bellona has almost had a full year, y'all. Y'all have to realize that. That's how crazy this unit is. That it just has made the game so one-sided, because it literally comes down to, do you have a Seaside Bellona? If not, you're going to be struggling a little bit in PvP. Not going to lie, for defense and offense, if you don't have a good Seaside Bellona with their artifact, because if you don't have the artifact, she's not as good. I'm going to tell you right now, she's not as good without the artifact. But if you don't have those two things, you're already at a disadvantage in Arena, and if you don't have a counter to her, you can't do well in Arena at all. She's on like 60+ of the teams. It's insane, y'all. She's everywhere. Her, FCC, Arbiter Vildred. Yeah, Arbiter Vildred kind of had a terrible history up until he got buffed. But Seaside Bellona, y'all, she's nuts. PvP-wise, she's not. PvE-wise, not as impactful as Diani PvE-wise. But PvP-wise, it's time to bring her reign to an end. I'm hoping that balance patch next week does her in, takes her out, you know. Limited units shouldn't rule the game like that, which is what they did with Cerise. But at the same time, you know, you can't make them absolute nobody. So, yeah, Seaside Bellona, y'all. But that is all I have for you guys today. I will see y'all next time. Peace.